Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So this is part 2 of the lecture for the topic illegality. So in part 1, we have discussed about the concept, the introduction, as well as we covered also on lawful consideration and lawful object, as well as some of the case law, in relation to examples of lawful consideration and lawful object. So for today, for this part 2 of the lecture, we are going to focus on section 24, specifically clause A and B, right? Because both of the clauses, it talk about whatever agreements, which are forbidden by law. I mean, it affects the law, whenever the prohibition, the contravention is pertaining to law, all right? But then if you look closely, if you refer to the provisions, the actual wordings of section 24A and B, A, it says it is forbidden by law, by a law, and B, it says it is of such a nature that if permitted will defeat any law. So you can see both actually concerns law, all right? Forbidden by law, all right? Prohibition, I mean, whenever it is forbidden or prohibited by law, right? So what's the scope actually? Okay, what's the exact scope of these two clauses? Actually, there's no specific answer for that question. Okay, because why? The exact scope and differences between these two clauses, it's not really clear. Okay, and we don't have any specific case law, right, to show to us the differences between these two clauses, and even the courts themselves, they have used the words, of either subsection here in their decision, and they never indicate, why they rely in that case they rely on A, and in some other case they rely on B, so we don't know, what's the real difference, between the two clauses here. Right, but from our own analysis, basically both subsections here, they refer to agreements that are illegal, that contravenes any law. All right, so it can be, I mean, contravention here, it can be done expressly, expressly contravening a statute or any subsidiary legislation, or sometimes contravention here actually is by way of implication, it's not really express. So both, I mean, these situations are governed or are covered by this subsection A or B here. Okay, now the next question, the next query is how do we distinguish between A and B? How do we differentiate between these clauses? Is there any specific way of doing that? All right, so if we look closer, the real meaning, what's the meaning? What's the interpretation? Actually, clause A, it deals with cases of express or direct prohibition. It's very clear, straightforward, all right? But for clause B, it deals with implied or indirect prohibition, not really straightforward. Prohibition is there, but then it's not really direct. So that it means that clause B will cover those situations where even if there is no express provision of law against making a contract, but such contract, will nevertheless not be allowed. Why? It will defeat the purpose or the spirit of law. Eventually, impliedly, all right, it has the effects of defeating the purpose of law. Okay, let's have a look at illustration I here. Is it I? 24D. Okay, sorry, I. Okay, here. Okay, let me read through to you the illustration I. Is estate is sold for areas, of revenue. So it's concerning tax, taxation here, under a written law, by which the defaulter is prohibited from purchasing the estate. Here, the one who doesn't pay the tax, so it's called defaulter. So B, upon an understanding with A, so they have arrangement, becomes the purchaser. So B is the purchaser and agrees to convey the estate to A. Remember, A is prohibited from purchasing, right? Here the estate. Upon receiving from him the price which B has paid, the agreement is void, Because why? It renders the transaction, okay, in effect, a purchase by the defaulter, by A, okay, and also defeat the object of the law. Because why? The law prohibits A from purchasing the estate, but A asks somebody else to do for him, okay, the transaction. So it's like A is the mastermind, okay, B is just doing whatever A asks, all right? They have the arrangement. So it will defeat the purpose or spirit of law, which prohibits A from purchasing the estate. Okay, let's have a look at the case law. Okay, here, all right. The case name is Haji Hamid bin Arifin and Ahmad bin Mahmud. Okay, this is 1976 case here. So plaintiffs, okay, they were administrators of the Siamese ladies estate or purchaser. Okay, I mean they are the purchaser. And defendant was the administrator of Mahmud's estate. So both of them were administrator, the one who administered the property, okay, belonging to the deceased lah. Okay. So this is concerning a dispute, okay, of a piece of Malay reservation land in Kedah. So this is special land. I mean the land which has special status, okay, only reserved for Malay. And usually if you want to sell, okay, you must sell it to another Malay. Okay, cannot sell to non-Malay. Okay, in 1944. Is registered proprietor, okay, Wan Mahmud bin Samad. So that's the owner, okay, of the Malay reservation land. He sold the land to a Siamese lady, okay. The name of Siamese lady is Ahyam, daughter of Ahnam, alias Nyonya Yam, daughter of Indinom. Okay, basically, transaction is actually unlawful, okay, illegal. Because why? Okay, Mahmud is Malay, but now he sold the land to the non-Malay, okay. All right. So on the execution of the agreement, okay, I mean they signed the agreement, all right. So possession of the land and of the title deed to the land was given to the purchaser. So physically, okay, the land was given to the purchaser, the Siamese lady, all right, together with the title deed, the grant, okay, the document, okay. But then they cannot transfer the name, okay. So subsequently, the Siamese lady, okay, actually now is she's already the deceased, okay. So she sold the land to the present plaintiff who are Malay, meaning that you're from Malay to non-Malay to Malay again, all right? And now, because remember, Siamese lady cannot transfer cannot change the name of the title. Okay, cannot put the title to her name, all right? So now the land is still registered in Mahmud's name, the first owner, okay, the original owner of the land, okay? And then Mahmud has since died. So Mahmud died, Siamese lady died, all right? That's why it involved administrator of the land, okay? Now, plaintiff sued for specific performance, asking for the registration of the name lah, alright, of the new owner, okay, purchaser. So basically, it's like this, okay, from Mahmud bin Samad, Malay, to Ahyam, alright, non-Malay, and then to Haji Hamid bin Arifin, to Malay again, alright. So now the issue, in order to see what's the status, okay, whether the transaction was valid or not, okay, so whether the first sale, okay, in 1944 by Mahmud to the Siamese lady, okay, was enforceable, okay, under the provisions of Kedah Malay Reservation Enactment, okay. Alright, and the court came to the conclusion, okay, it was held that the first sale was void because of the Section 6 of enactment, which prohibits such transaction here. And because of that, the first sale was void. So what happened to the next sale? Okay, also void. The second sale by the Siamese lady to the plaintiff is also void. Okay, although the plaintiff are also Malay, okay, and dismiss the plaintiff claim. Okay, even though the land actually now passed to Malay already, still you cannot really validate, okay, the earlier transaction. Now the plaintiff appeal against the decision of the court. Okay, again, an issue on appeal, okay, it revolves around the same issue. Whether or not the first sale by Mahmud to Siamese lady was void, okay, the first transaction. So the court concluded that, okay, the purported sale here, okay, the alleged sale here actually was an outright sale, okay. What is outright sale? Meaning that here, there's no conditions attached to it, okay, it was completely, directly, absolutely sale, okay, no further condition, it's not conditional, okay, yeah. And then the court say, well, actually, okay, the court will be inclined to consider it valid, okay, if it had been made conditional and expressed to be subject to state authority, allowing the land to be excised, okay, under Section 4. Or agreeing to declare Siamese lady a Malay for the purpose of the enactment, all right? So the court said, well, actually, the transaction could be made valid if, but then the fact is it's not. Okay, if the first sale was made conditional, okay, meaning that here there's a way to validate the agreement. Okay, all right, but then it wasn't done. Okay, and then you can't really undo the previous transaction here. So again, the agreement remained as void. So the appeal was dismissed. The court actually made reference to a similar case, all right, Fu Seili and Ui Heng Wai. Okay, because why? This case was in 1976. Okay, so the court made reference to the earlier case. Okay, similar but with different judgment. Okay, Fu Seili and Ui Heng Wai, 1968. Okay, what happened in this case? Okay, the case also pertaining to Malay reservation land. Okay, but then the agreement was a conditional agreement. Okay, it's not outright sale. So condition 3 of the agreement, okay, provides that the sale was subject to the approval of the Kelantan government and His Highness the ruler in council. Okay, for Haji Hamid, it involved, the land was in Kedah, okay, Malay reservation land, but here the land was in Kelantan. Right, so also it involved Malay reservation enactment. Okay, so whether the agreement is null and void, okay, under Malay reservation enactment 1930, and if so, if yes, okay, is the plaintiff entitled to specific performance of the sale agreement and for damages for breach? Now they're asking for specific performance as well as compensation. So this is the finding by the court. Okay, the court said section 13A, clause 1 of the enactment, okay, give the power, okay, to His Highness, okay, the ruler in council, in his discretion, to the Sultan usually, right, to approve a transfer of a right or interest of any Malay in reservation land to any person not being Malay. So you can apply, okay, to the authority, right, to the ruler, okay, actually to transfer from Malay to non-Malay is still possible. Okay, and then since the enactment, the Malay reservation enactment, okay, Malay reservation land enactment itself has provided a methods of effecting a transfer of a reservation land from a Malay to non-Malay. So the court cannot say, well, this agreement was void. Okay, so because there's a way to make it valid. All right, so that's why in the end, okay, conclusion was that the court held the agreement was not null and void. So if you compare with the case of Haji Hamid, okay, there's no conditions attached to the agreement, okay, between Haji Hamid and the Siamese lady. So outright sale, so it was void. You cannot make it valid. Okay. You can also refer to these cases in your textbook. Okay, we have case of Hassan Ismail as well as Lim Eng Heng and Lim Sam Kiao. Okay, also relevant for clause A actually. Okay, discussion on clause A. Okay, let's now move to clause B because A and B, they are connected. Okay, they are quite overlapping. Okay, similar but not exactly similar. Okay, similar but different. Okay, section 24B, agreements, okay, which are of such nature, okay, that if permitted, they will defeat any law. Okay, we go to the case, all right, before we discuss the scope. The case will actually explain to us the scope or application here. We have the case of He Cheng and Krishnan, okay, would involve toll. Okay, toll is temporary occupation license. Okay, so defendant was the holder of this toll. Okay, they can occupy the land. Okay, and they were given license. Okay, for temporary license, usually for 2 or 3 years. Okay, so plaintiff and defendant entered into a contract attempting to sell and purchase defendant's rights under toll. Whereas toll actually is not transferable, but they try to sell it. Okay, the rights, okay, to occupy the land. So the court held that, okay, the contract was unlawful by reason of section 24. The Contracts Ordinance, okay, before it becomes Contracts Act that we have today, okay, alright, as being of, okay, the court mentioned specifically the phrases, meaning that here it is under B, right, as being of such a nature that if permitted, it will defeat the provisions of any law, hence it is void, okay. So what's the law which will be defeated here? Okay, so the toll license was issued under Regulation 40 of Land Rules. Okay, and then Regulation 41 it says, okay, no license for the temporary occupation of state land shall be transferable. So provision of the law which will be defeated, okay, if effect were given to a contract of this nature. So this is the provision. If it allow the transaction to be enforceable, so it will defeat the purpose of this law. Okay, all right. So that's basically He Cheng and Krishna. So application of section 24 clause B. Okay, we have another case. Lim Carby and Duo Fortis, okay, properties here. Let's get to know the facts of the case. Okay, Lim Carby was a wealthy landowner, okay, who incorporated a company, Duo Fortis. So Lim Carby has a company, all right, and then to buy the relevant land so as to avoid payment of estate duty in respect of the land in the event of his death. So it has some similarities with illustration I, okay, that we have read just now. Okay, actually it is pertaining to certain to evade the law. All right. So directors and shareholders of the company were the wife and children of Lim Carby, meaning that here he wanted to avoid payment of certain tax, estate duty, so incorporated the company, all right, and the persons behind the company was his family, as if he himself. Okay, yeah, all right. When do for this, the company required putting in force the contract for the purchase of the land, okay, against Lim Carby. Lim Carby claimed, okay, that the consideration for the transfer was illegal. Okay. So the court held that the agreement for the sale and purchase of the land and related documentation were unenforceable, cannot be enforced, all right? Because why? The court looked behind, okay, who's actually the controller of the company, okay? They were the wife and children, okay? So actually, Lim Carby, okay, will have to pay estate duty on the land. I mean, it's the same person, okay? Whereas the law prohibits this, okay? So primary purpose of the scheme was to avoid paying the estate duty, okay, to evade the law, right? As the state land would remain with members of the immediate family of the landowner. The whole arrangement, okay, to evade the taxation, okay, here was illegal. So it will defeat the purpose of the law. So to some extent, it's quite similar to illustration I, okay, somehow. Okay, that's the second case illustrating application of section 1024B. It's not really straightforward or direct, but if we look closer, it will affect certain law. So it affects taxation law here, estate law, okay, estate duty. Okay, now we want to know what's the interpretation of the word law in section 24A and B, because you can see the word law in both clause A and B here. Okay, what's the meaning? Is it broad or is it narrow? Okay, does it include all kinds of law? Okay, remember in Malaysia, we also have Sharia law. Okay, all right, we also have civil law. Okay. So the word law in section 24A here, okay, actually it's not confined to statutory law. So it's broad, okay, all right, in nature. And it may include other law, for example, principle of Islamic law as illustrated in the following case. So basically, contravention here, okay, does it include other laws? Yes, it includes. Okay, it might even include customary law, for example. Okay, in Malaysia, we have all those laws. So we have the case of Nafsia and Abdul Majid. I think you have, or you're going to learn this case under family law, right? Nafsia and Abdul Majid, 1969. So what happened? Okay, the plaintiff, the lady, okay, Nafsia, claimed damages for breach of contract of marriage. Okay, and she claimed that defendant made a promise, okay, in 1963, and they have the document, okay, the evidence, okay, in writing, okay. And then she claimed that she was seduced, okay, by the defendant, and as a result of such seduction, okay, she became pregnant. Okay, they have not yet married, okay, and the son was born to her through defendant in 1964. Okay, and then the man, Abdul Majid, all right, the defendant denied both of the plaintiff claim, despite the fact that there exists evidence in writing. Okay. And then counsel for defendants argument. So they argued, okay, they denied, and then this is their argument. They said, well, Nafsia, the plaintiff, knew, okay, that defendant was already married. Okay, so even if the defendant had made any promise to marry, okay, such promise or agreement in such circumstances was void ab initio. So married women cannot make such a promise, okay, if they made the promise, so actually it's void. They cannot really fulfill the promises. Okay, that's basically the argument, okay, by the counsel of the defendant. So the court said, this is court's observation, okay, the court's finding, the counsel argument, okay, might very well to be true, okay, of a society in which marriage is a monogamous, okay. Yes, the promise will be void, okay, if you are not allowed to take second wife, monogamous, okay, but for Muslim, okay, they are allowed to take second, third, fourth wife. So if you make a promise to the future second wife, okay, it's still valid, it's not void, okay. The practice in the present suit, okay, however, are governed by Muslim law. They are both Muslim. And defendant is under his own personal law, entitled to more than one wife. Okay, I think Chinese are not allowed to take second wife. Okay, so if let's say the defendant was a Chinese, of course, the promise was void. But in this situation, he was a Muslim. So the promise was valid. Okay, so such an argument does not apply to the conditions which prevail in this country, in Malaysia, and more particularly to males professing the Muslim faith. So because of that, the plaintiff won the case. So defendant was liable to pay compensation damages for this amount, okay, 1,200 in Malaysia. Better than nothing. Okay, all right. But those days, I think the amount is okay, quite big, reasonable. All right, so we are done with discussion on clause A and B. So hopefully you have been able, you are able to understand, okay, to see the difference between the two clauses, okay, and then the different cases in which it shows the application of the clauses. So we are going to continue our lecture later in part 3. Okay, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.